so you understand where you are in the process of your own evolution. Remember Rome on I think the first day talked about how he was tried to commit suicide multiple times, and then he was in that same state and totally depressed, and he heard that little clip of me somewhere, was on a podcast or something, and I talked about the biggest problem we have is what? We think we're not supposed to have any. But problems are usually the trigger for that growth. And so for me, I get stopped every single day on the street, and people want to take a picture, or they want to tell me a story, or they want me to do something right now to change their whole life right here in this moment. And so over the years, I've had to figure out how to take complex things and make them simple enough, and I've looked for what I would call profound knowledge. Profound knowledge is something so simple. If you want to write down the definition of profound knowledge. It might be useful for you to start looking for this. Profound knowledge is something that's so simple that's once you understand it and use it, you can quickly change your life or anyone you care about. Profound knowledge is something so simple that when you understand it, you can immediately make changes in your own life or help someone else to do it as well. And I'll tell you where this, almost 30 years, this is a true story. It sounds ridiculous, but it's a true story. I was going to do this corporate seminar speech, so it wasn't one of my own events. In those days, I didn't have any security, and I didn't need it really that much. So I'm in a public restroom, and I'm standing there doing the necessary, and this man beside me looks over and sees me, and when you're standing and having this particular experience, you don't want to be stared at, and this guy's staring at me, and all of a sudden he looks at me and goes, "You're Tony Robbins." He said, "Oh my God." He goes, I need your help. I'm suicidal. And midstream, he turns towards me, true story, and pees all down my leg. He said, "I'm suicidal." I said, "I think I can help you with that suicide if you need it," right? So that was the day that I was like, I need to be able to help people quickly because this guy needs a lot of help. And one of the fastest ways to help yourself or someone else is to understand that throughout humanity's history, we have taught each other through stories. We are wired in our DNA for stories. Stories are the greatest teaching tool in the world. And every story is really, if you look at the Bible, Bhagavad Gita, if you look at the Quran, if you look at any great religion, they usually have a book. The book is full of stories. And what do the stories teach? How to live. There's always two stories. There's warnings and there's examples. And that's what life is. All of our lives are either a warning or an example. And if you feel like your life is a warning right now, you can still become the example you want, but it's going to require you taking action. I'm going to show you some of the tools that can make you have that happen. But you also understand it's a story. Sometimes we get so caught up in a story that we forget we got real life and we could change it right now. Story, change your life. Write it down. If you got a story that, oh man, I'm a victim, I've been through all these things. Everybody goes through extreme stress. Remember we talked about that? Everybody's going to at some point or have their home burned down, or be in a position where somebody they care about or themselves get diagnosed with a disease, or something's going to happen to your kid. Everybody's going to happen in their lifetime. No one escapes, no matter how good a person you are, no matter how loving you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter. No one will escape that because problems are a sign of life. What we have to learn to do is solve those problems more quickly, and when we do, we become more. Problems call us to grow. And if there's anything I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt I've learned in my life, people say to me all the time, what does it take to be happy? You've met millions of people. What's the secret to happiness? One word, progress. Write down, progress equals happiness. It's not even achieving your goals that makes you happy. How many of you have ever achieved a goal you worked really hard at, and then after you achieved it, your brain went, is this all there is? Who's done this? Give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or give me a little emotion out here. That's the worst feeling in the world. Now, because most of you out there, I'm sure like me, is if you fall down and you fail, you pick yourself up and you go at it again, right? But if you succeed and you're still unhappy, you're now what I call technically screwed, right? You have to have a different approach, right? Or have you done this? How many have ever achieved an incredible goal and you were excited? You didn't say, is this all there is? Who's had a goal you achieved that was really exciting? How long did that great feeling last?
Right.
Did it last for 6 years? A year of happiness? 6 months? 6 weeks? 6 days? Or 6 hours? How many of you lasted 6 years? You achieved your goal and you're happy for 6 years as a result of it? Okay, I see one person on. How many of you lasted 6 months? Okay, now we get them out maybe 15, 20%. How many lasted 6 weeks? How many only lasted 6 days? Any 6-hour people out there? So you might say, well, Tony, I worked my guts, I achieved the goal, and I only stayed happy this long. Why? Why?
We always want more.
Not meant to sit at the table of success too long. You'll get fat and bored. We're made to grow. Progress equals growth. Everything in the universe grows or it dies. That's not my rule, that's the universe. And everything in the universe also, when you grow, you have something to give, which is what makes your life meaningful. Without growth, there's nothing new to give. I'm only able to be here with you at 66 years old because I've been through hell and back so many times that I can show you the pathway to get out of hell and get to heaven, meaning not literally, but in your life. That's the process we're talking about here. And you don't feel that aliveness when it's just about you. You can meet your own basic needs so simply that you get bored. But if you can find something you care about more than yourself, whether it's your kids or your husband or your wife or your family, your community or your mission or your company or something that you care about, then you will wake up every day with an energy. But most of us are dealing with our own little problems here because we haven't found how to push through and because we get stuck in the story. So I want to give you, there's a friend of mine, he actually just wrote me 2 days ago, sent me a text. And it was, I think 35 years ago, he came to my Date with Destiny seminar. And in that process, we had people like we do on Leash Power then kind of rewrite their story. And he changed it completely. And his story was, I've always went through all these challenges in my life, and it was this hard knocks, and nothing's gone my way. And he was a martial arts teacher. But when I said, what do you want the story to be? What do you want that to be about? He goes, I'd love to write a movie that inspires and brings love to people and brings joy and makes them laugh and that. And he goes, but I don't know what to do. I said, I don't know what to do any things I'm doing either, but here's what I did. And I took him through the framework I'm going to show you today. And it's a process of how to get yourself on the path, continue on the path until you get where you want to go. 7 quick steps. I'm going to show you. We're going to do it today. So, and you can do it with any area of your life, something you want to master in your body, your emotions, relationship, finances, and you'll be able to use this again in the future. But he sent me several years, many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, he said, Tony, he wrote Sleepless in Seattle, by the way, and was nominated for Academy Award, this great romantic comedy. Anybody ever see Sleepless in Seattle? It was a long time ago, right? And now he's this great writer, and he just sent me, this little thing saying 35 years later, here we are. It was really touching. But what's interesting is he sent me this thing. He said, I went to the greatest screenwriters training in the world, and he gave me this outline of the greatest stories have these 7 elements. So I want to give them to you right now because they're a good map. It's not exactly how life is, but it might help you think about the story of your life and where you are right now. And then I'm going to take you through a story called The Hero's Journey and show you how understanding it can give you perspective so you can get out of those lousy states and get to where you want to go and make the progress that makes you happy and be able to give the things you want to give. Who's up for this here, ladies and gentlemen? Make some noise if you're up for it. So jot these down real quick. I'm just going to give these real fast, and then I'm going to take you through this hero's journey, and then we're going to go through this little mini workshop where we're going to pick something you want to shift, and we're going to show you how to do it, okay? So this writer, and there are many different approaches to this, said that stories all start with a desire. If you watch a movie, if you read a book, you meet the main character, and the course of the story is driven by what do they want. Some people want to save the world from bad guys. Some people want to be more connected to God. Some people's deepest desire is to find the ultimate relationship that they can bond with. Everyone has a desire, and your current most passionate desire is what's driving the story of your life. Now, some people's desire starts to, I just want to get by. I want to survive. And if that becomes your story, life becomes hell. Because remember I said, what really makes people stressed? It's not what they think it is. It's that they're managing their life instead of creating. They're making a living. They're pushing through. But with enough energy and focus, you can find a deeper desire. One of the reasons I do events is when you get collectively with a group of people all over the earth in this kind of energy, how many feel the difference when we get your energy up just in this group right here? Can feel that difference, right? If I ask you, if you're in this state and I said, what do you really want? And you're in this state, you go, I don't know, man. Most people tell you what they don't want, don't they? I don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to act. I don't want to be in this kind of relationship. Well, whatever you focus on, your brain starts to move you towards it. There's a part of your brain called the RAS. It's big words. It's a reticular activating system. For short, most scientists call it the RAS. And once you have a desire that is strong, your brain starts to look for any way to make it happen. If you don't just give up that desire, you keep feeling it, imagining, experiencing it. And once that happens, you'll notice things you wouldn't notice. Let's say you decided, I want to find a way to invest with no money down in real estate or apartments or something. And you don't even know how to do it, but you really get obsessed about it. All of a sudden, you'll see books, you'll hear conversations. If you're in Starbucks and there's somebody 4 tables over and they're talking about buying or investing in real estate apartments like this, your brain will hear that conversation because your brain is like a servo mechanism. In the old days, if you sent a rocket towards a target and you were off, it missed it. But the new rockets have a servo mechanism like your brain. And if the target moves, who knows what happens to the rocket? It moves and follows it. All it takes is unleashing your desire. That's why I call it unleash. Not remembering, not thinking about it, unleashing it, right? And you've had a mini experience of that here a little bit. Now, once that happens, you'll notice, you'll see, you'll feel. I'll give you an example. How many of you have ever bought an outfit, ladies, or anyone bought a car, and then you suddenly saw that outfit or car everywhere? Give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or give me a little shout out if you know what I'm talking about. Well, were those outfits around before? Weren't those cars around before? Of course, but you didn't notice them because it wasn't a driving desire. Now, your brain notices anything related to that. So the first ignition to your story, and then you've got to ask yourself is, what is my current most passionate, focused desire? And do I have one? Or is it just my desire to get by or to survive or get through this crap? Your desire determines the direction, the speed, and the quality of the story of your life. So the second thing that happens is as soon as you have a desire, if we're reading a book and you're reading a main character or you're watching a movie, the second thing you'll notice, they don't always notice, is there's a problem and there's a need. The problem is, let's say the person wants to be wealthy, but they're selfish, right? And so you know this is not going to happen. Or the person wants, to achieve great things, but they're lazy. Or they want a great relationship, but they're fearful, so they don't initiate it. There's a problem or need. So I'm wondering if you know what your biggest problem or need is. The problem has a need. The need often is for you to grow. The need might be for you to be in a place where you have more faith or more courage or more determination. That's the need. The problem is you're holding back and not taking action. Third element of a story is the big one, which is whenever you got a desire and you got a problem need, opponents show up. And there's 3 kinds of opponents if you want to jot them down real fast. There's an external opponent, there is an intimate opponent, and there's the internal opponent. What do these mean? Well, the external opponent is obvious. How many have been at work, in environment, in your business, in your career, and there's somebody screwing with you, or somebody who seems to be getting in the way, someone who's holding your progress back? Who's ever felt like somebody who's fighting you, taking advantage, right? So you could do battle with them, but the more intense one is the intimate opponent. How many of you have ever had somebody you really care about, a family member, a mother, a brother, a sister, maybe someone you thought was a dear friend, and you felt betrayed by them, by something they did, and they were an opponent to you? How many have had that experience? Make some noise and give me a thumbs up. Which one is more painful? Which one is more difficult to deal with? The external opponent or the intimate one? It's the intimate one, right? That's the one that if you conquer it, you're going to grow more. But then there's ultimately the internal opponent. That's you. Because most of what's really going on in the external world, your reaction to it, your reactions are determining how your life turns out, and they're all coming from inside. Blaming someone else is your internal opponent. Until one day you go, it's not my brother or my sister, my mother or my father, it's not the government, it's not Trump, it's not this, it's not that, it's me. And that's when you can start to make some progress. Now, by the way, as you're dealing with the opponents, most people, 4th step, they come up with a plan real fast. And if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans, right? Right? Because how many of you have had plans that didn't work? Make some noise if you had plans that didn't work. If you go to a movie, check this out. Let's say you went to a movie. This is the story, okay? The story starts out with a person who's totally healthy, they're happy, they're in love, they have great relationships, and they're doing really well in their business or finances or career. That's how it starts. And then, as you go through the film, about halfway through, they're healthy, and they're happy, and they're strong, and they got great love in their life, and they're doing great financially and great in their career and their business. And you get to the end of the movie, and they're healthy, and they're happy, and they have great loving relationships. Raise your hand if you're going to go to that movie. If you're not, give me one of these, right? That's right. Because if there were no problems, if there was nothing like that, you would not grow. You wouldn't even want to watch the movie. What is drama? Conflict. And most of the conflict you think is the outside world, it's really inside of you. You solve it in you, you'll solve it in the outside world. So you come up with your plan, and then fifth step is you do battle. You battle with your opponents. You battle and try to solve the thing with the external opponent or the intimate one, and you're upset about it. Ultimately, you battle within yourself. And then the last two, 6, now there's a point in that battling, if you don't give up, where you wake up. And you have what's really called self-revelation. It means you start to realize, oh my God, it's not them, it's me. That's when it really happens. And when that happens, you develop new character. You develop like a different level of self-honesty, or you become more humble, or you find your courage finally and you stop pulling back and blaming everything else, or you stop telling yourself the story about why you can't do it and you just get up and do it even though you're scared, right? That self-revelation changes a person, and that leads to the final step, which that final step is that series when you read a story, or when you, to your children, it says they lived happily ever after. Or in our world, we say life will never be the same again. It's called equilibrium. So think about this just for a quick second. Do you know what desire is driving you most at this stage of your life right now? Are you aware of it? Are you conscious of it? Are you conscious of what the problem is and what you need for you to grow? Are you too focused on the opponents and the battle? Have you come up with a plan and now you're disappointed because it didn't work? Most plans don't work the first time. That's why we fight for them. That's why we value it. Have you gotten to the point where you have some self-honesty so you can really make the change and invest in yourself and take the action and do what's necessary? Or have you hit a nice equilibrium where you feel like, man, life is the best it can be? So I'm going to help you take this a little deeper now, okay? And I don't expect you to grab this perfectly. I want this to be a trigger for you. So what I want to show you now is the oldest story in humanity. Many of you have heard of Joseph Campbell. He wrote a book called The Hero's Journey. He wrote many books, but he was a genius. And he spent most of his life studying every religion in the world, every mythology in the world across from centuries. And he looked through and said, wow, everything that we experience is usually through a story. If you change the story, you change how you experience life. But he also noticed there was one story that since the earliest days, even of cavemen, it's this theme, and it's called the hero's journey. And he made it somewhat complex. I'm going to simplify it for you into 7 steps, and I'll give it to you in a way that'll be pretty simple. How many of you remember the old story of the Wizard of Oz? Hopefully everybody around the world knows that one, right? So we're going to use that as an example. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Most of us think we have a problem because here's how it all starts. The journey starts with step 1, your ordinary world. Your ordinary world means how your life is right now. Your life, can be feeling pretty good. It's okay. It's pretty great. Seems wonderful, or it's not, but it's kind of where you've been for a while. And life demands, or you could call God or the universe, whatever you prefer, something out there demands us to grow because everything in life grows or it dies. And so we don't always grow on our own, or we grow conveniently in little groups. Remember I said the other day, there's these bursts in life that happen where you grow a ton and it changes your life. Well, you got this ordinary life, and the hero's journey is because the second step is all of a sudden you have what they often call the call to adventure. Now, you probably don't recognize it as a call to adventure because it looks like your house burned down, or it looks like somebody cheated you or cheated on you, or someone stole money from you in your business, or your kid is screaming at you, or someone in your family won't talk anymore, or you got somebody who's the president of the United States you don't like, or whatever the case may be, right? The call to adventure is this smash, and it doesn't feel good. But if you can recognize it's a call to adventure, you can change your life. Most people don't recognize it. So they go to the third step, which is they refuse the call. They pretend that I don't have to deal with this. This is not my problem. I can just put it aside. I can just keep doing my ordinary life. But guess what? Life will come in and make you. It'll take you. Life will give you such a challenge that you have to grow. And you'll go from that step 3 of the refusal mode into really being taken on the journey. So let me walk you through this in the version of like Wizard of Oz. So let's start with the ordinary world. You remember the main character of Wizard of Oz was Dorothy. She lives in Kansas. The movie, by the way, is in black and white, which is what her life is like in the first part of the movie. It's black and white, ordinary. Kansas, pretty flat place. And she thinks her biggest problem, she's all upset because a neighbor, her dog, Toto, bit a neighbor, and the neighbor wants her dog taken away. And so rather than deal with this little problem, she runs away. She goes for the refusal, right? There's a call for her to grow up, and she doesn't take the call. Now the call keeps coming, right? She decides to run from home, but then the universe intervenes and a giant cyclone comes, right? A tornado. And it's coming, and all of a sudden she needs to go back home. And she doesn't want to go back home. That's where her dog's going to be taken from her. No one understands her, and she's not appreciated. And she's whining about all this stuff. But when the problem's big enough, we react, don't we? And so she tries to run home to take cover. And when she bangs on the door, no one can hear her. They went underground to protect themselves. They were all worried about her, but they couldn't find her. She was gone. So to save their lives, they go underground. So she, to save her own life, goes in the house and tries to strap herself down and hang on to the furniture. And by the way, she does not want to change. She doesn't want to go anywhere. But what happens? The universe takes her. The tornado takes the house, spins it out to a different world, which is what life does when you face these challenges. It's going to take you to a different world. And so we put it back on the screen for everybody then. You can't refuse the call. Put it up there for everybody. The next step, you find yourself in a position where now you go on a journey. And when you go on that journey, you're going to meet new mentors. You're going to gain some new allies. You're going to find some new friends. And it's going to start to create a change in your life. And so the thing I want you to think about it this way. Think about it like she didn't want to go. Now she's in a different place. She doesn't know where she is, doesn't know what's going on. So just let's say you were in LA during the fires. I had my home burned down 20 years ago in California. And it was my favorite home I'd ever had. It was called the Del Mar Castle. It was made of castles in Europe. I leveraged everything I had, said I want my family to live here. And I'm 24 years old. I just stretched myself like crazy in ways I never thought possible. And I got this home to be our home. And then one day, the whole thing burned down. There was a candle in the house. It flipped over on the bed. It literally burned out. And everything that I had, that I owned, was gone. In those days, you didn't have pictures in the cloud. So all my pictures, all my history, all my back, all of it was gone. But I had 3 children. And we all made it out alive. And so I had to set an example for them, thank God. So what did I do? It's like I said, listen, we want to be grateful. Look, we're all healthy. But what it made me do is I had to go on a journey. We had to move. I had to move to a new location. And went to move location, I met new people, new friends. I met some new mentors. And it started me on the journey. Same as what Dorothy did. So Dorothy gets there and she meets these little miniature people. And she decides, I got this problem still. I got to solve it. I got to get home. They say, follow the yellow brick road. Think of this. You got to get on the path, because I'm going to explain this to you in a moment. You got to get yourself on the path. And they show her where to start, how to get on the path. And as she starts to try to make progress towards what she needs and what she wants to solve her problem and really meet her needs, she meets some people along the way. She meets, first of all, the good witch, who takes the old witch. By the way, her house kills the old witch. Everybody's celebrating it. And she meets these people along the way. She meets the scarecrow, and she finds out he has problems. He thinks he doesn't have a brain. And then she meets the Tin Man, and he feels like he doesn't have a heart. Remember? And then she meets the lion, and he doesn't seem to have any courage. He's scared. And they go on this journey, and she wants to help her friends, and they want to help her. And so they all decide we're going to go see the wizard who's going to solve all this for us. We're going to go see the Wizard of Oz. And on the journey, though, this is the next step, throwing it up on the screen so people can follow, please, the big circle, if you would. So there's a point where you call cross the threshold. That means you can't go back. Who's ever finally committed yourself, like where you said, I'm going to make a change, I'm on the road, I've gone through hell, but I'm not going back? Who's ever done that here, ladies and gentlemen? When you cross the threshold, something magical happens inside of us as human beings. It's like I always tell people, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. Because as long as you have a way back, you're not going to go forward because your brain will rationalize, I can't do this right now. I mean, what's the favorite phrase people have? Yeah, I really want to do that someday. People tell me how many seminar that is. Someday leads to a town called nowhere. It doesn't exist, right? Someday is bullshit. And so what happens is once you pass the threshold, there's no more someday. You're taking action. You're moving forward. There's no way back. And when that happens, you go to the next step, which is you do battle. You go through what some people call it the ordeal, but it means a transformation. You have to fight the dragons and slay your own dragons, your fears, your emotions, not feeling enough. Think about it. All these creatures, the man without the brain, without the heart, without the courage, those are qualities that they needed, but they actually were inside them. They just didn't know it. And so they face the wicked witch of the West, and she tries to harm them and attack them, and they fight to them, and they get all the way, after all this ordeal, they make it to the wizard, and this giant wizard shows up, and he says, no, I won't help you. They thought he's going to be kind. No, you have to bring me the broom of the wicked witch. And like, how are we going to do that? And so they go, and they do something they don't think they could possibly do. They fight the ultimate battle with someone no one else has been able to defeat. And sure enough, Dorothy of all people drops water on her, if you remember, and she fizzles away, and the world is free, and they go to see the wizard, and he's still really acting intense, and then all of a sudden, little Toto sees there's a guy behind these doors, and he's running all this machinery. It's kind of like how I feel. People come to see me to get a brain or find their heart or find their courage, and I show them it's already there. I just get them to awaken it so they can feel it and keep it and condition it so it doesn't go away. And all of a sudden they find he is a kind wizard, and he helps each one understand what their qualities are they have is inside. He does what's necessary for them to own it, their brain, their heart, their courage. And then she discovers that what she's wanted all along is to go home was always right there. All she had to do is click her feet together and say, there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. How many remember the story? Make some noise if you do, ladies and gentlemen. So how do we relate this to our lives? Well, you've got an ordinary life. Ordinary might be a great life, but it's whatever your current life is. If you don't make aggressive action to take your life to the next level, at some point life is going to interrupt you in a way you probably won't call to adventure, because it won't be pleasant, but that's what it is. And if you can recognize when hell breaks loose and you can say to yourself, okay, life is always happening for me, not to me. It sure looks like life's happening to me, but I know there's a benefit here. How many of you, again, I asked you this the other day, but I want you to really think about how many of you have had an experience in your life that was incredibly painful, it was horrible, you'd never want to go through it again, you'd never want somebody you care about to go through it, but years later you look back and said, man, I see why the universe or God gave me that experience, because it made me so much stronger, or made me more compassionate, or made me care more, or it made me learn or grow. How many have had an experience like this you can relate to? Make some noise. I would submit to you that if you study humanity and you see what our lives are like, everything is a gift, but it's our job to find it. It doesn't feel like a gift in the beginning. So one thing can help you is, it's like when I get an opponent, it takes a lot to shake me up. If I got somebody that really shakes me up, I go, a worthy opponent. You know why that's valuable? Because I'm going to grow now. See, if you look at a movie, what determines how great the hero is? Well, you can only have a great hero if you have a great villain. If you remember years ago, Anthony Hopkins, a good friend of mine, who made Silence of the Lambs. How many remember Silence of the Lambs as a movie out there? You remember that one? What made, what was the lady's name? Blanking out, seeing her face. The actress. What made the main actress there? Jodie Foster. What made Jodie Foster such a great hero is she was dealing with this man who could smell her, think her, predict her thoughts. I mean, he was so intense. She had to grow accordingly. That's what life is. Life is offering you a worthy opponent. It could be the death of someone you love. It could be losing your job. It could be something happens to your kid. It could be your own health. It could be you've been in marriage for 25 years and all of a sudden it ends. It is a worthy opponent. It is the world, the universe calling you to action, calling you to go on an adventure. But if you refuse it, you're going to stay in stress, and eventually life's going to take you anyway. So why not go on the journey? Why not commit yourself to take action? get beyond the threshold of control, fight your battles, slay the dragon, and become home the hero of your own life. And when you come home the hero, because you've slayed those dragons, you have something to give. And when you got something to give, life is meaningful. And all of us have had this. Who's had something you've been through and now you've been able to help someone else because of it? Your kids, your friends, somebody like that? Right? Listen to me. Please listen to me. In the end, what you get will never make you happy. Nothing. It's never enough. But who you become by pushing through, that'll make you really happy. It gives me grace tears to think about it. There's no regrets in my life. The stuff I've been through, I wouldn't bore you with the details. Some of it would shake you to the core if I told you the stories. But it's like my mom. Thank God my mom wasn't the mother I wanted her to be. I wouldn't become the man I've become. So if we can embrace it, we get to go on this journey of life and we become more. And as we become more, life is so rich. And that's a happiness that doesn't go away because it's not fake ego pride. It's not because people tell you you're great. People tell you great all your life and not believe it, like we talked about the other day. They can tell you you're lousy or you're stupid, and you don't have to listen to it. You know when you push yourself through difficult times. And so instead of trying to avoid them, embrace them and go on the journey, and your life will be magnificent. And by the way, just when you're celebrating being the hero and other people are celebrating you and you're able to share, who knows what happens next? Who knows? Right now in the chat box, what do you think happens next? After you've returned the elixir, you're the hero of your own life, the life is magnificent. Tell you, what do you think happens? That's right. Peace for sure, joy for sure. But the next venture will show up. The next call to adventure will show up. See, it's not life without problems. It's just like better quality ones. Right now you get a better quality challenge. Apple was trying to survive 20 years ago. Then they came up with the idea of doing music on, iTunes, and pretty soon they own the digital market at 88% of the market. It's hard to grow when you have 88% of the market. That's a quality problem, isn't it? That was a problem. They said, you guys solve it, keep growing. Now they're one of the most successful companies in history and they're near bankruptcy, right? It's like we're going to continue to be called. So why not embrace life instead of feeling beat up by it? Because your story of I'm being beat up by life versus I'm on the journey, the hero's journey, can change everything. How many see value in this and looking at your own life at some stage here? Make some noise if you get some value in this. Stand up, shake your body out just for a moment. Stand up, shake your body out there. When you decide to go for it, that's when you'll start to create new solutions, new ideas, new opportunities. And when you're creating, there's not that same stress, even when you're dealing with big challenges. And you got to train yourself. When a big problem comes, finally, a worthy opponent. That's what's going to make me a bigger hero. That's how it works. Now, let's take this and turn it into a mini workshop where you can make practical progress immediately. One of the things that I've noticed in life is you don't have to be to where you want to be yet to be fully alive. In other words, let's say you're 30 pounds overweight. And, you think, when I lose the 30 pounds, I'm going to feel so great. But as I pointed out earlier, you will, but for how long? What actually makes us feel great is progress. If you can feel like you're what I call on the path, who knows what I mean by on the path? Like you're on the path of progress, on the path of achieving it, right? If your relationship is not where you want to do, but you just start on the path of making it better, or your finances suck, but now you decide, hey, I'm going to get on the path of this, right? And I do something that I know I'm moving forward. There's enormous energy. If you're overweight and you just start working out and you eat a little better for 4 or 5 days a week, 10 days, a couple weeks, all of a sudden, you're not there yet, but you lose a few pounds, you feel better, you feel stronger, you feel alive when you're on the path. That's what we're all seeking. We're all seeking to feel more alive. How many agree with me on that? Make some noise if you agree with me on that. Which, by the way, is why I'm so committed to conditioning and getting your entire nervous system so this isn't a thought you understand, it's a habit of how you live. It just happens. That's why we do conditioning. And I can't do that for you in 3 hours, but I can give you the tools. So let's do this. Let me walk you through what I consider the 7 steps to take yourself from the beginning to achieving what you really want in any area of your life. And I call it the path. And I will tell you, the first 4 steps are the hard ones. The next 3 are too simple. We'll go through them real fast. And I'm going to walk you through these. But I'm going to ask you, we're going to stop and actually do each step a little bit. Who's up for a little work here where you make some progress right now? All right? All right? So I need you to keep your energy high in your chair. Create that energy right now in your chair. Progress, it starts with your state. That's why we're doing this each time, right? If we just do it in our heads, it won't matter. So we're going to keep our state strong, okay? Whatever we got to do. And by the way, the way to change state fastest is a radical change in your body. The way you move, the way you use your voice, tones, sounds, all that will do it, all right? So what is the path? Let me give you a picture of it. Let's throw it up on the screen for you here. It looks like a lot going on there, so don't worry because we're going to do each step one step at a time. You can take a picture of that if you want. If you got your camera there and want to make a little snapshot, you're welcome to do so. But I will walk you through it one step at a time so you have a chance to do it. So you'll see that the path starts, I'll just kind of walk you through it gently. The path starts with, you get on the path when you know what you really want. And when I say what you really want in any area, you're not going to make progress in your body because it's like, I want to just feel better. It's got to be more specific. What do you want to lose a certain amount of weight? Do you want a certain level of energy? Do you want to be a certain size? It's like, what do you want? But not only knowing what you want, but you got to activate and awaken your hunger. Write that down. Awaken my hunger. Remember the other day I said to you, people ask me all the time, what's the difference in people's lives? The most successful people in the world, what do they have in common? I was up early this morning after all your stuff. I even less sleep because I was with Michael Milken. He has a program here with some of the most successful people in the world. And they're all trying to figure out how do we really make sure the American dream is fully alive. They want to be on this board with them. Brilliant people. But you know what? You can look around the room. Most of the people there are, doing unbelievably well. A good number of the room is 10 figures, 11 figures in net worth, meaning billion, 10 billion. It's a pretty wild room, almost 80 people of that caliber. And the one thing they all have in common is hunger. I mean, they could sit back and do anything. They don't need anything in their life, but they're hungry. They're hungry to grow. They're hungry to give. They're hungry to find a way to make the country better. They're hungry to make a difference. Hunger. Awakening your hunger is the first thing. Now, what most people do is they get so disappointed that they deaden their hunger, or they drug themselves with food or alcohol or prescription drugs because they've been disappointed so many times. They don't want to get excited. They don't want to get their hunger up because they're afraid of being disappointed. Let me tell you something. Write this down. Disappointment is the secret to success. If you're not disappointed, you haven't done squat. Right? It's like criticism. Like, how do you not be criticized? Simple. Do nothing, be nothing, say nothing, and no one will criticize you. Not even in social media, right? That's the secret. No, that's not going to make you alive. What you have to be able to do is you got to discipline your disappointment. Disappointment happens all the time. If you can turn disappointment into drive, now you're going to have a different life. But to do that, you got to train this body and this mind so that happens automatically. Because you have to think about it. Once you're in a disappointed state, it won't work. You got to train yourself. Now, when I say awaken your hunger, that means you got to develop a vision. In the Bible it says, and I'm not telling you that you have to read the Bible, but the Bible says, without a vision, people perish.
I say that all
And
the
it's
time.
true. If you don't have a compelling future, anyone can deal with a difficult today if they have a compelling tomorrow. But most people don't know what they want. You ask them what they want, what do they say? They tell you what they don't want. I don't want to be this way. I don't want to be in this relationship. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to earn so little money. I don't want whatever. So write this down. Reasons come first, answers come second. Reasons come first, answers come second. See, if you got a big enough reason to do something, a big enough why, you'll figure out how. Even if no one else shows you, you'll find the how. That's what happened in my life. So the first step is that. So I want you right now, just for a second, I want you to think of an area of your life that you'd like to make a significant improvement in. It could be your body, it could be your relationship, it could be your finances, it could be your career, it could be your level of happiness or joy. How many of you can think of an area right now that you'd like to make a significant improvement in? Okay. The first step to knowing you're on the path is your brain knows what it wants, because we want to activate that RAS, that reticular activating system that'll start noticing and helping you get there. But it'll only do that if you don't not only know what you want, but you awaken that desire and you got strong enough reasons. So I want you to think of an area of your life right now you want to improve, and I want you to take your iPad, your piece of paper in front of you, whatever it is. Don't just think this. If you don't write it, it's worthless. So get something so you can write it, or your computer, your phone, whatever you're going to do. Or you can put on your little otter and dictate it right now if you want. But what do you really want? What's a specific result you want in that area? Could be your body, could be your relationship, could be finances. I don't care what the area is. And be as specific as possible. Not, I want to lose some weight. I want to lose 22 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds of fat. I want to turn my husband or wife into a raving fan, not a satisfied customer. You know, satisfied customers go away. Raving fans stay. Apple has raving fan customers. Microsoft, not so much, right? I know that not making a judgment. Microsoft, I got a room of 10,000 people and I'll say, make the sound you associate to this company. And I'll go Microsoft and you get murmurs. I go Apple and people cheer. That's $1 trillion difference, right? So what do you really want? What's a specific result you want to accomplish? Maybe something you want to accomplish in the next 6 to 12 months or less. Be specific. That's what makes your brain work. If you say, I want more money, your brain goes, here's $1, you're done. I want to lose some weight. You lose a pound, and the brain, your RAS goes, okay, we've achieved it. Be specific, and then write down, why is it a must for you to achieve? Why? What will it change in the way you feel about yourself? How will it make you feel if you achieve this? Why is this so important to you personally? What will this do for your family, for your kids, for the people you love? What would it do for you? Why must you, why will you make this happen? All right? You got 60 seconds. Write as fast as you can. Write down, clarity is power. The more clear you are about what you want, the easier it is to get to it. And clarity, not only what you want precisely, but why you want it. Because the reasons make the difference. Now, let's say you got absolute clarity. And by the way, you can go back and refine this more later. We're doing it quick. I want you to. And you can do it in more than one area of your life, one at a time. The second step on this path, if you see going up here, that second step is now we got to find and face the truth. We got to find, write it down in your notes, find and face the truth. Which means, by the way, there's a simple phrase, the truth will set you what? Free. We all know it's true, but most people don't. So this step is about, make a note, it's about getting clear. It's about being honest with yourself about what's gotten in the way in the past. Like sometimes people set a goal. Who's ever done this? Have you ever set a goal, said, I'm going to go do this, and then after you say it in your head, your brain goes, who are you kidding? Who's done this before? Make some noise if you have, ladies and gentlemen, right? So what we want to do is have strong enough reasons we'll go for it, but now we got to tell ourselves the truth. This is what most people don't do. It's like New Year's resolutions. They set a goal and then, they don't do anything. So we got to face the truth. And the truth is, let's get clear and honest about why you've not done this in the past. Not beating yourself up, just being honest. In other words, think of it this way. My job is to help you close the gap between what you really want and where you are. If you're here, I want to help you close that gap as quickly as possible. In order to close the gap, we got to know what's getting in the way. And there's usually 5 things, jot them down, 5 different things that tend to get in the way that if you become aware of them, you can change them very quickly. The first one is fear. Look, everybody gets fear. And by the way, when someone says you need some courage, courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Courage means you're afraid, but you're doing it anyway. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Make some noise if you push yourself through, right? And one way to do that is change your state, right? You can find courage in your warrior, no question about it. You might find courage in your king or your queen or your sovereign. Those are just metaphors for states that you can go into. But the bottom line is if you let the fear stop you, you're in trouble. And fear is physical. That's why changing our bodies can make a difference. When you're really afraid, you can feel it in your throat. You can feel it in your gut. But if you snap your body into a strong state, all of a sudden the fear disappears. You take action. Write down, the only cure for fear is massive action. The only cure for fear. As long as you think about it, you're going to be scared. So when I'm afraid, I just step into it. And I discover 90% of the time it's not as intense as I think it's going to be. And more importantly, when I'm taking action, the fear tends to move aside. It's more courage. And courage, by the way, write down, courage is a habit. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So if you're not very courageous, doesn't matter. Make yourself do it. But so is that it? Or if it's not that, is it a limiting belief that's getting in the way? One of the most important things we do on Unleash the Power Within is we have you uncover at least 3 of the most limiting beliefs in your life. I'm not enough, right? This has occurred, I can't do it. I've never made them, whatever it is. And we don't just intellectually deal with them. I don't know if you remember, I think it was Kate on the first day with the red glasses talking about how she completely changed her life. It was through this process of destroying the old belief that she had, which is I got to please everybody or I'm not enough. But the way we did it was not intellectual. We didn't just write it down. It's about a 3-hour process because you got to get it out of your body. You got to get that out, and then we got to replace it with a new belief. So beliefs control and beliefs create. How many have had some beliefs in the past that you've known better? How many even have a belief today that you may intellectually know better, but it still gets in your way at times? In your relationship, or your business, your finance, there is no progress. You're going to be stopped with your having a goal or a desire. You're not going to continue on the path unless you face the truth and you get this process right now clear so that we can face it and deal with it. Does that make sense? Putting it aside or pretending it's not there won't do it. Or maybe the third thing that often is there is maybe it's a disruptive emotion other than fear. It could be feeling lonely. It could be feeling sad. It could be feeling overwhelmed, allowing yourself to feel stressed. And that's why we train you to change your emotions. So you do it. As quick as most of you are doing warrior, we can do that with any emotion once you learn how. But we got to get where you're not remembering it. Again, you just do it. And then the fourth one I should say, is that a habit that gets in the way. You say, you're going to lose 20 pounds and you start every day by going to Starbucks and having a mocha smocha, whatever that shit is. Well, of course you're not going to lose the weight. Your habit is in the way. You have a great desire, but you got a terrible habit. What habit do you got to change? Or the fifth one very often is you're missing a skill or a set of skills. For example, how many of you own your own business out there? Make some noise, you own your own business? How many of you own your own business, have lots of free time? Well, let me tell you, how many have a little bit of stress when you're not with your business, not in your business? And for a lot of people, their business is like an extension of their identity. It's like their kid. It's like a part of their life. It's their well-being. It's who they are. Well, most people fail in business, right? Most of you know 50% of businesses are gone in a year, 80% are gone in 10 years. In 5 years, 96% are gone in 10 years. 4% make it. Make it doesn't even mean they're profitable. And that's because you're what I call an operator. Operators are always stressed. You're not an owner. An owner is someone who has the skill. Like, I'm here with you right now. I've been with you day and night. And I got 121 companies, and we're doing $12 billion in sales. I'm not telling you that to impress you. I'm telling you because it impresses me to me, right? I get to be with my daughter here. I get to be with you. I get to do all these other things because I learned how to become an owner, which was skills, different skills than an operator who's doing everything himself all the time. I couldn't even operate a business that did less than $500,000, and I was burnt out. Now I'm doing all this, and I'm fresh as I could possibly be. So this is a skill you got to get. It might be the skill of decision making, right? It's a skill. It might be the skill of how to do something within your personal life. But if you don't get the skill, you can have this dream all day long, desire. You're bullshitting yourself. There's no progress. Who understands? Who agrees with me on this, by the way? Make some noise if you agree with me. Which means you need to invest in yourself. Whatever's going to get you through the fear, whatever's going to get you shift the emotion, whatever's going to change the belief, whatever skill you need, you got to go get it. These days, learning AI is a pretty critical skill. And a lot of people are overwhelmed by it. By the way, we train in that also. I have a training on that as well, but you don't need to come to us. Lots of people do it. But boy, maybe that's something you need. But you need to invest in yourself, because if you don't, life's going to come get you. But if you got a standard education, you're going to have a standard life. And most people's standard life is not a happy, fulfilled one. Are most people, you tell me, show of hands, are most people really physically fit and strong? This means yes, this means no. Which one? Yes or no? No. Are most people in a relationship where they're totally passionate and love? This or this? No, okay. Are most people in a position where they're earning what they really want to earn? Are most people really the happiest that they think they can be? You go, Tony, this is depressing stuff, right? No, I'm telling you this because I want you to know I'm not an idiot. I know most people aren't, but I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in helping those people, but I'm first interested in who's having those experiences. Who is fit and strong that used to be 30 or 40 pounds overweight like I was and kept it off for 20 years? Who's been in a relationship 20, 30 years and they're still passionate for each other? They're not like barely know each other, living different lives. Who is really in this incredibly happy state? Who started with nothing and has become financially free? Because they're not lucky. Success leaves clues. We can study what they do, but we got to get those skills. We got to get those tools. And if you don't invest in yourself, you'll never see them. It's the most important investment. So figure out right now, I want you to write down what has gotten in the way in the past of this goal, this dream, this thing you wrote down, of the 5 things we just did, and we'll throw them back on the screen so you see them. What's the truth you need to deal with? What is being gotten in the way? What's been in the gap? Is it a fear? And if so, what was it? Is it a limiting belief? I've tried everything. I did this, it didn't work. What's that belief? Is it some other emotion? Is it feeling just depressed or sad or stressed out or overwhelmed? Is it a habit? What's the habit that gets in the way of you having what you really want, joy or happiness or love? Is it the habit of giving up when you have a relationship argument and you don't know what to do? Is it giving up on even finding love in your life? Is there a skill? Maybe you need to learn how to connect with people again. Maybe you need to learn how to expand your relationship. That's a skill you can get. You get in books, you get in videos, you can get in classes, you get it anywhere. But if you don't pursue it, great ideas are never going to interrupt you. They have to be pursued. And if you pursue them like I've done for a lifetime, you're going to have an extraordinary life. But you will have nothing if you just dream about things, even with lots of reasons. That's how you start the path. But if you're going to continue, you have to find and face the truth. So jot down right now, what has gotten in the way so that we can handle it? 20 seconds. You don't need too much time for this one. It's pretty obvious. Noise. If we know what's gotten in the way, we can deal with it. But let me show you an example of someone who's done this. Just a little 3-minute video. Take a look.
I remember having this thought of, oh, so this is what it means when someone says their world falls apart. It started off basically with finding out that my mom had terminal cancer. And my then husband and I were just having a really difficult time in our marriage. He decided to break up with me over a text on the morning that I had a miscarriage. The dominant story that I kept telling myself at that time was, I can't start over at this age. I'm never going to be able to support myself. No one's ever going to want me. I couldn't see my identity. I felt like I lost myself. What changed everything was being introduced to Tony's work. I had a neighbor who I'd become very friendly with who happened to be a coach, and she's like, do you ever listen to Tony Robbins? She sent me 2 interventions. I watched them. I felt something that I had not felt in so long, which was inspired. My brain lit up. That was the moment of the fork in the road. I went to my first Unleash the Power Within. UPW is the most emotionally cleansing experience you will ever have. And one part of UPW was something called the Dickens process, where you kind of imagine yourself 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future, 20 years into the future, and you're imagining what your life would be if you make no changes, if you don't change. And then you imagine what your future could be if you were to make these changes to the way that you think. That was very profound because I've never done anything like that before ever in my life. Some of my limiting beliefs were focused around my marriage, which was, I'm not good enough, or I'm not good enough for him to stay. My identity was wrapped up in being his wife and being a yoga teacher. But there was another part of me that wanted more, especially when it came to career. There was no vision. It was like I was in a tunnel in the middle of winter during a snowstorm. So I became obsessed with 2 things. When I started to really spread this, I started doing free workshops, and I was going to Tony's events, and I was integrating it into my own experience and my own understanding. And then I would teach it, and it was like, wow, life is really starting to get better. This is when the pages started to turn, and the writing on the pages started to change into a different story.
Jillian Turecki. Jillian has helped thousands over the last 20 years through her teachings, courses, and writing.
Jillian is one of the world's leading relationship experts.
Jillian Turecki.
Well, I guess you could say I'm a relationship expert, relationship coach. I wrote a New York Times bestseller, and when I even utter those words, I get emotional. This book is literally the direct result of my experience and my experience learning all of this from Tony. I have my own podcast that is a top podcast in the relationships and personal development space. I have courses, I have a membership for women because I'm very passionate about helping women step into their own power. I have close to 5 million followers across social media. Like, I just, who am I? I don't know. Yeah, life right now is about taking things actually to the next level, because so much that got me here was from this story that I had, and now it's like, okay, so what's the next chapter going to be? And the most satisfying part of this new chapter of my life has been helping others. We are truly the creators of our own reality and destiny.
Give it up for Jillian. She's here watching. Give it up for her, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you, Jillian. There by just desire. She had to face the truth of what was holding her back. She had to be crystal clear. She had to get rid of those limiting beliefs, those limiting emotions. But when you do, you can go to the next step on the path. So let's follow it. We go figure out what we really want. We get enough reasons. We find the truth and we face it. Now we got to create a map. A map means a massive action plan. And all that means is finding 2 or 3 things you're going to do immediately. People think, well, I got to think this through. Like, if somebody wants to get a trainer, like, they got to lose weight. They go, I got to find a trainer and I got to join the club. And they come up with a million things they got to do instead of just taking some action. Most business successes, for example, what you see in AI or what you see, let's say, in Silicon Valley, they have something called iteration. You take action and you learn and you change and you learn and you change. That's how we succeed. While you're busy trying to come up with this complex plan, there's no replacement for massive action. Write it down. Massive action is the cure-all. Write it down. Massive action. You can do something right now today. So I want you to write down, to get to what you really want, to conquer what's been in the way of you, whatever your truth you need to face, what are 2 or 3 things you could do? What are 2 or 3 actions you could take right now? What's a decision you can make right now? I'm going to give you just 1 minute. Decide. By the way, before you decide, make the sound of your warrior so you're in that state, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, make the sound of your warrior. End of this class. Who's someone you could call? What's something you could enroll in? Who could you sit down with? Who could you coach? Who could you get mentored by? What could you just make a decision, say no more about? What's a little thing you can do right now? And then what's a big thing that if you did it right now, you'd not only be on the path, you'd keep on the path. You'd condition it. You'd move yourself forward. You wouldn't let this just be a couple of days of great things. This should become a launch pad for even more. Write them down real fast. 2 actions you could take. One that's easy, one that be a little bit harder, but if you made yourself do it, you know you go to the next level. Just 20 seconds. Jot it down real fast. Or once you do that, it's easy. Last 3 I'll tell you in 2 seconds. So what is step 1? We get clear what we really want and we awaken our desire. And we come up with reasons why it's a must, why we're going to do it. Step 2, we don't BS ourselves. We tell ourselves the truth. We find and face the truth. What of these 5 got in the way? And now, what's my map? What am I going to do to solve it? What's a little thing? What's a big thing? And the minute you take action, how many know you'll feel momentum once you start taking action here, right? By the way, the hardest thing in the world is momentum, but the only way you get momentum is action. But you can't have momentum if you don't know what's getting in the way. You know what's getting in the way, now you take action. Finally, step 4. And step 4, as you see, as the road goes up, now you got to do what's hard. You got to do whatever you're putting off that's hard. You need to slay your dragons. This is where you're going to become the hero of your life. You've now faced the truth, you got a map, but now do what's hard. Change what has to be changed, right? Get the skills. Go out and get those skills now. Go sign up for the class. Go enroll yourself in the piece. Take massive action. And maybe you need to transform. You're a part of that. Facing the dragon is changing your story. From the old story of what your life is to the new story of who you really are today. Your old identity, the new identity, right? That piece of slaying the dragons is the piece that very few people do. And so again, they never get to where they want to go. They stop somewhere along the way. And when you stop along the way, you lose momentum, it gets hard, and life feels hard. That's when you start to feel stressed because you know you're not growing. Progress equals happiness. You make progress. And by the way, when you slay the hardest thing, I was interviewing a guy from my business mastery program the other day who created the Spartan races. And they're incredibly hard and difficult. And he originally did this one, was called the death race. Only 8 people signed up. You had to sign a thing saying you could die on this thing. And he just pushed people through it. But what happened was he says he starts his morning with 100 burpees. And he told me the reason is after that, everything in the day is easy. Right? He does this piece. So it's like, I start my day Most of you know, if you know my routine, I get up in the morning and the first thing I do is jump in that freezing water. It's 56, 52 degrees. If I'm in my home in Sun Valley, it's the river. And during the winter, I'll go through the snow and get there, it's about 45 degrees. I don't do it because I look forward to it. There's never a day I say, I can't wait to jump in the cold water. I do it because there's a radical change in my body, but also a change in my mind. I do what's hard first, and when I don't negotiate, I don't go, well, let me get warm first, and let me see if I'm ready. I've trained my brain to say, when I go, we go. And when you do the hardest thing, it feels so good, like 2 minutes later, you feel incredible. But now I've been doing this for 18 years. It's now become popular the last 5 or 10 years for people to do this stuff. But do something that's hard. Or I go lift, or I go run. I acknowledge people in my life because that's an important piece for me in the day. I call somebody, leave a text, do something that's warm and loving because I just want to do that. I want to give a gift to somebody, and then I do the hardest thing first. And what that does is it gives you momentum and you crush your days. But in your life, on this area, do what's hard. Write down what's hard that you need to solve. What's hard that you're going to face. What are you going to do so you don't BS yourself and just say, I want this, but you actually create it. I'm going to give you less than 20 seconds. What's the hard thing? What's the dragon you're going to slay? What's the thing you're going to push through? What limiting belief, what limiting emotion, what limiting habit? What skill are you going to go get now? Even if it's not easy, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to make it happen. When you got that and you ask too big, you don't know what I'm going through, Tony. Bullshit. Excuse my French. I don't know if shit is French, but you get the idea. Right? I met every person. I've been through things most people never been through, and I've met every person that's ever done. Let me show you one story that might inspire you just for 3 minutes. Take a look at my friend, Jeff.
Hi, Tony. If you will allow me, I feel compelled to tell you why you are a personal hero of mine. I was just 21 years of age when I got ALS. I was a junior at the University of Oregon and a fledgling guitarist. My plan was to be a millionaire chick magnet, living my fantasy of playing to packed stadiums by my mid-20s. Instead, at 28, I was broke and moving back into my parents' house with my 13-month-old daughter because my wife had run off with another man. My spirit was broken and my body decaying. I don't think I could have gotten any lower. I was mesmerized by your infomercial for Personal Power and acquired the program on cassette. Tony, that saved me. This turned my life around. There were many impactful parts of the program, but the most powerful for me was the concept of proactively choosing to associate pleasure or pain with something. That completely changed how I looked at everything negative staring me in the face. In 1990, all I wanted to do was die. Since then, I have raised my daughter as a single father from a wheelchair. Now she is preparing to direct her first feature film. I have heard words of gratitude from people all over the globe for my inspirational writings. I have lived out my dream of coaching football now for 21 years, including winning 2 state championships and mentoring dozens of amazing kids from all backgrounds.
Hey Jeff, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, I just want to reach out and wish you a happy birthday. I hear it's number 61 for you. Mine's coming in a couple weeks. I'll be 65 myself. But brother, I'm so proud hearing about the incredible things you've done with your life in spite of all the things you've had to conquer and challenge and push through. Sending you lots of love. I know you've been to some of my events, but if you ever want to come in person as my guest, we'll make it happen, okay? Love to you, buddy. Happy birthday.
And then I was invited to UPW in Anaheim. Tony's Dickens process is a visualization exercise. You look at your past, your present, and your future. You feel what happens if you don't change, and you feel what's possible if you do. The Dickens process hit me hard. It made me realize how precious time really is. And it made me realize the importance of sharing my message with as many people as possible. I took what I learned at UPW and brought it back to my team. We worked through their fears and anxiety. I helped my quarterback let go and remember why he loved the game. The team didn't just change, they won the state championship, and I saw what's possible. when people believe in themselves again. Now I have partnered up with Live Heads Up to continue to inspire and mentor our current youth and future leaders. To borrow a phrase from you, I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you the incredible impact you have had on my life and the lives of everyone I have touched. I am just one drop of water in the pond of lives that you have affected. I'm not sure that this incarnation of Jeff would even exist if not for Tony Robbins. Thank you.
Will you give a hand for my hero, Jeff Young, who's right here with us today?
Life is a gift, and every day I choose to live it fully.
Live the unlimited life you have and don't let anything life's given you stop you. If you had a different belief, he wouldn't have had this life. He did it, not me. We're grateful for you to be here for your example. Give a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Be like Jeff! Jeff is here viewing. Give it up for Jeff. There he is. Love you, brother. Dragon to slay? I don't think so. Imagine being left by your wife at that stage and then having this happen, still find a way to raise your children, inspire people all around the world. He wasn't supposed to live another 5 years. You know, he's 61, about to be 62 years old, and he's still inspiring people. In that championship they just won last year, he came back to learning the Dickens process, turned his quarterback around, and they won the championship. It's like, anything's possible if you get on the path and you actually do what's necessary and you slay your dragons, my friends. And we all are capable of. And when you slay your dragons, there's grace in that. There's a sense that you're not alone. And if you're willing to face your dragons, it's like a strength will come to you. But you have to do it. You have to do what's necessary. You have to do more than's necessary. But if you push through, the victory is so sweet, as I know it is for Jeff. And this victory for Jeff is not even about Jeff. It's about all the people he's touched, as it is in my life too. So give it up one more time for Jeff, this amazing man. Be like Jeff. It's one of our big pieces here. Finish these last ones and we'll get into our body here. So I told you these first four, that's the base. The last three are really fast. Once you slay your dragons, you got a lot of momentum. So if you follow the road, you'll see, we'll put it up here for you. Now you just need to have a daily practice to keep yourself going. Like, what are you going to do each day to put yourself in state? What are you going to do each day to make sure your head is on straight? What are you going to do each day to be in the right emotion? What are you doing each day to deepen your relationship? What are you going to do each day that moves you forward financially? We just need a couple of basic fundamental things that you can do each day. And, I teach a whole series of these, obviously, but you can pick them. And those who are getting Personal Power Plus, you start with Personal Power with no AI. You can do something every day for 30 days. In the events, we're going to give you a set of skills. You can do it on your own, but you need some new daily habits. And then once you have that, and by the way, you can write those down in a second because we'll do them, then you go to the next step. And that is, okay, I got my, daily practice. Now I need to just raise my standards and measure more often. Like if you don't measure your weight, you're going to gain weight over the years. That's just called part of being human, right? And at least in modern culture. But if you weigh yourself, it's like a business. If you measure your business once a year, you're going to have bad years. If you measure once a month, you won't have bad years because you have 12 times to make it better. When I take over a company, I start to measure elements, and I measure them daily because I don't have bad weeks. And in some situations in the beginning, we measure them hourly because the more you measure, the more conscious you are, the quicker you make a change. But if you let things slide, then it's really hard to do. So what are you going to measure? How are you going to measure your progress? What's going to be a daily practice and what's going to be the way you measure? And then finally, once you do that, the final step is celebrate. Because if you don't celebrate the victory, then what are you doing it all for? Some people, they work their guts out, achieve a goal, and they go, oh, thank God I achieved it, right? Religion, the word religion comes from religio, which means to celebrate. But some people don't celebrate. They don't celebrate the gift of life. So you got to allow yourself to celebrate. Now, how many have done a little more celebration the last couple of days, even in these couple of days here, right? Make some noise, right? So I want you to stand up. Let's stand up and let's do this. Stand up, and we're going to do this in our bodies real quick. Shake your body out, shake it out, and make your move. Sound of your warrior as loud as you can. Go! Go, go! Your warrior, go! That's it, that's it. Come on, make your sound of your magician. Your magician. Your magician. Your lover. Your lover. Your lover. Make the sound of your sovereign, your king or your queen, the wise one within you. So now that you're in state, close your eyes. Stay in this state with your eyes closed. Let's do step one. Get in your body. What do you really want? You wrote it down, but now see it, feel it. What do you want? Let's activate your hunger. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to make happen? And the next 6 to 12 months, that's going to excite you. Get you up early, keep you up late, make you feel fully alive. What is it? What do you really want? Feel it. Enjoy it. Experience it. That's it. Feel it inside your body. Now, say out loud what you want, but say it like you're going to do it. Say, I am going to achieve this, and this is why. Go, say it out loud. I'm going to achieve what? I'm going to make what happen, and why. Shout it like you're ranting. Victory in your body as loud as you can. The sound of victory. Like you're on the path right now. Make you feel like you're on the path. Make some noise. Give me a thumbs up. Step two. Let's find and face the truth. The truth will set you free. So what's the truth? Let's get clear and honest with ourselves. In the past, there's been a gap between where you want to be and where you are right now. If we're going to close that gap, what's gotten in the way in the past? What is it? What has it been in the way? Has it been fear? Has it been a limiting belief? If so, what was it? A limiting story about your life? Belief or story? Is it some other emotion? Frustration, overwhelm, sadness, tired, stressed? Is it a habit that needs to change? Or is this a skill you need? And maybe to get that place, it's a new identity. Who do you need to be? There's a part of you already that can get this done. Who do you need to be to achieve this? Who do you need to do to break through this limitation? Then right now, decide, I'm going to break through this thing, I'm going to own it. And when you decide it, you know what it is and own it, make your move. Make your move. Close your eyes. What's your map? What's your massive action plan? What's something you could do right now, today, tonight, in the morning, something you can do right away that's something simple that would commit you to follow through? What could you do so you don't just say you're going to do it, but you actually follow through? And what's a big action you could take in the next, today or within the next week? And if you took that big action, you'd gain some momentum. Maybe you're going to fire something, or you're going to fire yourself from something. Or you're going to end a relationship or begin one, or you're going to commit and get yourself out there. What are you going to do that would be uncomfortable, but it would mean that you're absolutely pushing through? It would set you up for the next step. If you know some action you're going to take right now, say yes. Say yes. Again, when you say yes this time, go. Now, it's time to do what's hard. Time to slay the dragon. What do you need to slay? What is it you need to push through? What belief, what emotion, what is it? But this time I want you to see and feel yourself in a situation where you normally would pull back, but now you push through. Feel it. Close your eyes and feel like you're in the situation that used to stop you, and you slay the dragon. You deal with your fear. You push through that limitation. You went and got that skill. And you feel it. You feel yourself getting that skill. You feel the progress. You feel the momentum. You feel the power of massive action. You feel your expanded identity because you're doing things you wouldn't have done before. You've invested in yourself. You pushed yourself forward. You learned the skill. You got yourself where you wanted to be. You destroyed that old belief. You didn't just learn about intellectually, you did it. And when you feel like you're doing it inside, like you can feel it in your body, make the sound of victory again, nice and loud. Go. The sound of victory. Your eyes closed. What's something you can do daily to keep yourself on the path? Is it something you want to listen to, read, or do each day? What's something just daily, just a daily habit that'll keep you in the right state? Doing the right things. Is it a workout? Is it listening something? Is it being inspired? What are you going to do? If you already know something, real quick, a daily habit that'll help you, just say I. Say I. Standards you're going to raise. What are you going to do more than before, and how are you going to measure it? Are you going to measure yourself more often? What are you going to measure? Because we get what we tolerate in ourselves. So what are you going to no longer tolerate? What are you going to measure? Make sure you're really making progress. You're not kidding yourself. What are you going to do to make it happen? Raise your hand right now. Give me a thumbs up if you know something you're going to measure more often here in this area. Right now, I want you to think about how good it feels not only be on the path, but to make it happen in your life in this area. And you can do with any area of your life. And then what I want you to do, I want you to feel your warrior, your magician, your lover, your king, and I want you to celebrate like a little kid, like all this is already done. It's in your body and it's done. On 3, more energy than you've had all week. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Celebrate that victory, ladies and gentlemen. Have a seat feeling strong. And don't sit down, collapse. Sit down like you're in charge. That's it. If you feel in your body, make your fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. All right, so let me give you 2 final things here tied to this that's really important. Okay, you get this thing. You're on the path. You feel the progress. You're making it go. How do you keep the momentum going? Number 1, I've said, but I'm going to say it again because it's a principle of success at the most basic level, but we forget it. We know it intellectually, but we don't do it. And that is, you must take massive what, my friends? Action. The time to take action is now, not in the future. In fact, here's what I tell people. How many of you have done this? How many of you have gotten excited about something, you set a goal, made a desire, made a decision to change something, and you meant it when you said it? And then you're going to start tomorrow, right? Or next week. And then you get to tomorrow next week, and you don't do it. Because when you made the decision, you were in a peak what? State. But now you get caught up in all of your texts and your Slacks and your emails and your social media and the demands of your family, and you're no longer in state. Who's ever done this? Who's ever had something you really committed to do? You wanted it for you, and you didn't do it because you dropped out of state later on. Who's done this before? Make some noise if you can relate to it. So let me give you the most important principle. I teach this to all my children. In fact, I'll tell you a quick 2-second story about my daughter. I had this experience with my daughter, but here's the principle. Never leave the site. Write this down. Never leave the site. Never leave the moment of setting a new outcome, setting a new goal, or making a decision. Never leave that site without doing something that commits you to follow through later while you're still in state. I'm going to say it again. Never leave the site or the moment of making a decision or setting a goal without doing something in that moment while you're in state that commits you to follow through later on. So while you're in state, you make the call. You enroll in the class. You call the person you want to hire. You say, you book a meeting to have the interview. You set something up where you're going to sit down with your relationship a day at a time. You book it. You create it. You lock it down. Because action, an action that commits you while you're in state, is the secret to it all. So many things in my life early on I didn't do, and I was so mad at myself and frustrated, and I just realized it's all momentum. So in state, you do it. And I'll give you a fun example. My daughter Jolie, who's my older daughter, when she was, I think she was 19, maybe just about turned 20. She was in college, 20, almost 20, and she came home for Christmas. And so we had a great Christmas, and then I would take my kids aside one-on-one, and boom, I have this one-on-one time with her, and I said, Joe, how you doing on your dream? She goes, what do you mean? I said, Jolie, you know what your dream is? Her whole life she talked about wanting to be a dancer on Broadway. And she's now in college, right? She goes, well, Dad, I'm in college, and I'm 4.0. I said, I know, I'm really proud of you. And she goes, and I am still dancing. I do these dance competitions, and I'm winning like crazy. I said, I know, that's what concerns me. She said, it concerns you? I said, yes, honey, because you're winning all the time, so it shows me you're not coming up against difficult things that are going to make you grow. And you're winning in Pasadena, California, and LA. The greatest dancers in the world are in New York. Your goal has always been to dance in New York. You want to be on Broadway. She goes, yeah, I know, but I'm in school. And I said, Jolie, honey, I know you respect me, and I think you probably think I'm a genius, and of course I am, because I'm your father, And I said, but I don't think you know what my genius is. My genius is when an opportunity comes, I grab it by the hair. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the time. It seems impossible, it seems difficult. I don't let anyone go by. Not everyone is the right opportunity, but you'll never know unless you grab them. And I said, I have a sense of urgency that's missing from you. Like I have urgency, it has to happen now.
My love.
And you don't have that right now, honey, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you grew up in this environment different than me, and you've had a great quality of life, and live near the beach, and you're on the beach, all these great environments, and you're a great kid. But if you want your dream, you need more urgency. Because I said, listen to me, there's a timeline on a dancer. You're not going to start and become a Broadway dancer at 35. And I don't even know if that happens at 25. I don't know. All I know is, are you getting closer to your dream right now doing what you're doing? She goes, well, Dad, I'm in college. You told me to go to college. I said, yes, I was wrong. Not wrong about college. Just wrong about maybe it's not the right thing for you right now. It's your prime chance to do this. She's saying, well, what are you suggesting? I said, I'm suggesting you move to New York City, you become a working actress, and you take classes with the best, and you go compete with the best on earth. I said, I think you have the talent, but I'm your father. But I do know one thing. If you don't do this, you're going to have something no one wants to have, regret. You know, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. She's saying, well, that's a big move. I said, yeah, that's how you get big results. You make big moves, you make big decisions, take massive actions, everything I've taught you since you're a kid. She goes, well, when were you thinking of doing this? I said, when would now be a good time? And she said, now? I said, yes, now. So then she says to me, I'll never forget this, she goes, well, maybe I should talk to someone else about this. And I said, yeah, people pay me $1 million for my coaching. You should talk to somebody else about this, right? I said, well, who are you thinking of? I didn't react, right? Who are you thinking of? And she said, well, this friend of ours, his name was Jay, and he worked for CAA, one of the big agencies in Hollywood. And I said, that's a very smart move. Call Jay and ask him what he thinks. And she goes, okay. I said, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'll call him. I said, when would now be a good time? She goes, now? I said, right now, go call him. So she goes to him and call him. True story, I pick up the phone and I dial him and call him immediately. And I got through to him. I said, Jay, I was just talking to Jolie. I had this conversation. You know, she's going to college. I said, she's winning all these competitions. She's always wanted to be, I think you know, always wanted to be on Broadway. I told her I think she needs to move there. It's what I teach. Proximity is power. Learn from the best. Compete. Make it happen. And find out if she's good enough. I said, if I'm full of crap, tell me. She goes, no, Tony. He goes, LA is not the place if you're going to be the dancer. She needs to go compete with them. I said, then tell her that. She's going to call you soon. A couple minutes later, she comes back. She goes, he's on another call. It was me, right? So I said, well, call him again. You're going to give up that easily? So she calls him again. She's gone for like 45 minutes. She finally comes back. She's really thoughtful. And she goes, Dad, she goes, he said that's the right thing to do. I said, Father knows best, right? You know? And I got her laughing. And I said, so here's what we're going to do. I said, she goes, but I'm in the middle of school. I said, so what? So in her December break, we said, you're not going back. And we arranged to fly to New York City with her. And I said, no, I'm not going to just support you. You have to be a working actress. I'll help you get in your apartment initially. Then you're going to work. And then I'll pay for your lessons. And then you got to go compete. And so she did. And you don't know for sure what someone's going to be able to do, right? And she worked incredibly hard. And it was one of the worst winters in New York. She went from being on the beach in Southern California to this intense environment, which toughened her up. And then I was coming to New York several times. And then I let her know I was coming. And she goes, oh, Dad. She goes, well, you know, let me send something to surprise you. So I get to the airport in New York, LaGuardia, and all of a sudden, or JFK at the time, and there's a car out front from me. I'm like, wow, how's she paying for that? Wow, they must have a good job, must be doing great. And the guy says, Mr. Robbins, yeah, so I'll take you to your daughter. And so we drive and drive and drive, and now we're going past the area where we should have made a turn to go to her apartment, because I've been there before, and the guy keeps driving. And now we go into the theater district, and he pulls up to Tommy, the play Tommy with Elton John, and my daughter's name is on the top, starring 6 months after she got there, ladies and gentlemen, Jolie Jenkins Robbins. No, I didn't give her the talent, I didn't give her the skill. She did it all on her own. She worked her tail off, so she also earned it, so she has that inner pride. But I was a catalyst to getting her to make that move. And that's what I've been trying to do for you for the last 3 days. But now you got to make your move. What are you going to do? You got to take this and say, well, that was a great, 3 hours a day for 3 days, or are you going to make the move and get the skills and move next level? I hope you'll do that for yourself. But I'll give you one last action step. Besides massive action, if you really want an extraordinary life, and if you ever want to get beyond scarcity, like if you're like, oh, I don't have the money for this, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm not just talking about the event, anything in your life, you don't ever get beyond scarcity. You have to start beyond it. You have to draw a line in the sand. And the way that you do that, I'll tell you, it happened for me. I grew up totally poor. There's nobody in my family that had any abundance. We didn't have enough food. And I went to work for this guy, Jim Rohn. And I worked in the beginning. I did really well. I convinced everybody to go. And then I went through this slump where I really got burnt out. And I remember I was driving home on the 57 freeway in Southern California, near this place called Pomona, California. Not a nice place, where I had a crappy little apartment. And I was so frustrated. It was almost midnight. I'd been working all day again in Orange County, drove all this way, and nothing was working, and I was broke, and I was frustrated. And I was like, what is wrong here? Like, how can I work this hard and I'm not seeing the result? And then I got this flash, and I literally pulled over on the side of the freeway, and I used to keep these hardbound journals. I still have the journal I did it with. And on one page, I started crying. I wrote one phrase. I went, the secret to living is giving. And I just burst into tears, sitting in my little Volkswagen. Because I realized when I started out, I was doing so well because I was doing it because I was trying to help people. And now I was doing it going, how come I was focused on me? Why am I not getting what I want? Who's ever been caught in that trap in your own life or your own relationship? Anybody relate out there? Make some noise if you can. So I got my act together and I started doing well. And then, you're new in business, so I made some mistakes. And the next thing I know, 6 months later, I'm back in a tough position. I was living in Venice, California. Venice was not a nice place at that time. I'm living in a little 400 square foot bachelor apartment, feeling sad and sorry for myself. Finally, literally broke, no money left. I've got my note that says I have to get out of the place because I hadn't paid my rent. I had 3 days to do it. And I never used drugs or alcohol because those were abused by people in my family before, but I used food like a drug, and I gained 38 pounds in about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That's not easy to do. You have to eat tons of food and not move very much to pull that off, which I did. And I'm at my lowest point, and I'm literally counting the cents that I have left. And so I think I had something like, I don't know, it was like $19 or $20 left. And I was depressed, and I'm hiding out from my creditors and hoping nobody knocks on the door, including the guy that wants his rent. And I came up with a plan. Since I have no money, I'm going to divvy this thing out a little bit. I'm going to go to a place where they had an all-you-can-eat taco bar, and I'm going to load up for the winter and just eat as much as I can so that I last longer, because I had no plan, no more money left. And the place I wanted to go to was called El Torito. It's still there in Marina del Rey. And Marina del Rey is a really nice city. It's on the ocean there. Venice was not so nice. And to drive there, though, you have to pay like $4 for parking. So I couldn't eat at $4, so I walked. It's, 2.5, 3 miles. And I got there, and I thought, I'm going to go there because I'm going to have this great meal, and I'm going to look out at the boats, and all these people have this great lifestyle, and I'm going to figure out, I guess somehow I got to do this. I got to turn my life around. And so I got in there, and I loaded all this food up, and I'm not this high. As much beans that I could load up on that would make me maybe last more than just salad. And while I'm sitting there stuffing my face and I'm looking out the window of these beautiful boats and things and feeling sorry for myself a little bit. And then I was faced where I could see the glass out on the area where all the boats come, but then also the front door to the restaurant was there. And the door opened up and my eye caught the most beautiful woman I've probably ever seen. I couldn't help not notice her. She was just gorgeous. And I perked up inside as if I had any chance with this lady. So silly. And I waited to see, was there a guy with her? And there was. He was about this tall. And he was wearing a 3-piece suit, little vest. And he held the door open for her. And then he went over and he pulled out her chair and waited for her to sit down and put it there. And then he sat down in the chair. I looked across to her, and he was so present with her. And I got teary-eyed. I don't know what it was. I think probably because I was estranged from my own mom at the time. Probably was part of it. And so I finished eating, and I was just touched by seeing this little boy, just what a beautiful young man he was, And I wasn't even focused on the woman anymore at all. So I went and paid I think it was like $5.95. So I had I I think I had like $23, $24. I had like $19 left and some change. And as I was walking out, I did something that changed my life. And I had no plan for it. It was spontaneous. I walked up to this young man. I put out my hand. And I said, "What's your name?" He told me. I forget, it was Charlie. I said, "Charlie, I'm Tony." I said, "I just wanted to meet you for 1 second." I said, "Because you're a class act." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I saw how you held the door open for your lady. I saw how you put her chair here. I see you like looking right at her eyes here and taking her to lunch like this." I said, "That's incredible." He goes, "Well, she's my mom." And I said, "That's even more beautiful." And I said, he goes, "Well, I'm not taking her lunch. You don't have a job yet. I'm 7. I said, "Yes, you are." And I reached in my pocket. I had no thought to do this. I didn't look at the woman. I took all the money I had in the world, $19 and some change, and I slapped it right down in front of this little boy, right in front of him. I said, "You're taking her to lunch." And he looked at me, his eyes were big as garbage can covers. And he goes, I can't take that." I said, "Yes, you can." He said, "How come?" I said, "Because I'm bigger than you are." And he laughed. And I never looked at the woman. I didn't do it for that. And I walked out that door and looked for my car, which it wasn't there. I realized I'd walked. But I was the highest high I could remember feeling in a decade, probably in my life. And I floated home. I kind of jogged and danced. I probably looked like a crazy white dude who couldn't move well. And 2 or 3 miles disappeared. And I got home and I had no money, no meals, no way to pay my rent, no understanding what I could do. But I felt free for the first time. And I woke up the next morning and I wasn't scared. I wasn't upset. I wasn't like even worried. And I had no food and no plan and no cash. I mean, no cash, nothing. And so I couldn't believe it. I got in those days we had snail mail, not email, right? And I didn't want to get it because it was all bills. But I noticed there was a personal note in there. So I pulled it out, I opened it up. And it was from a young man that was a friend of mine that I'd loaned $1,000 to 2 years before when I didn't really have 1,000, but he was really hurting. And I've been calling him for 2 months and he wouldn't return my phone call when I really needed it. And the note just says, "I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry, Tony. You were there for when I needed it most and I've not been there for you. But I finally put the money together and I've added $200 just as a thank you." So give me $1,200. It was $1,200 and some change is what it was, right? And I just started crying uncontrollably again. And I'm like, why am I crying? This is such a beautiful thing. I think it's because I realized that day, it's like, why did this happen? And I don't know why it happened, but I'll tell you what I decided to believe, and I really believe in my heart and soul. It's because I gave when I had nothing, and it taught my brain there's more than enough. I didn't give so someone put stars on my chart or so the woman would notice me. I gave just spontaneously because it was right. And in that giving, I was freed. And I gotta tell you, I've had plenty of ups and downs in my life since that time. I had times when one of my companies almost went bankrupt back in 2008. It didn't, thank God. I found a way to turn it around, but I've never gone back to that scarcity. Never. And so I want to invite you. I want you to invite you to think about not waiting some time to give. My buddy Mike Keys, I mentioned to you, I met 45 years ago. I know he's watching. He told me, I don't know, 6 months ago, there was on a plane and there was someone there reading my Life Force book, the book I wrote on, from reading 150 of the best regenerative doctors in the world. And he loves to see what people think of my stuff because they don't know he knows me, right? And he said, "What do you think of that book?" They go, "Oh, it's so great, stem cells, all this stuff, and this is unbelievable." And he goes, "What do you think of the author?" He goes, "Well, he seems like such a nice guy. And, you donated 100% of the profits from his book to feed people for Feeding America, and seems like a great guy." But then he said, "Of course, he's rich, so, I guess it's easy." And Mike looked at him, he told me the story, and he said, I looked at him and said, "What if I told you I'd known Tony since he was 17 years old, and when he didn't have but $20 left to his name, there was a guy in the street, and he gave him half, and he gave him $10. And when I said, 'What are you doing?' He remembers from back then, he said, 'Tony said to me, if I don't give a dime out of a dollar, I'm never going to give 100,000 out of 1 million. See, Don't wait to give. And it doesn't just your money, it's your time, it's your energy. When you give, you become a creator again, and your stress will disappear. And so I invite you to step up, to give yourself the gift of learning and growing. Come join us if you will. Don't put it off. Don't say someday. Someday's not going to come. Give yourself the gift, and I promise I'll serve you a level that's never. I haven't held back this time. I've given you everything I got. But you got to take the ball now and run with it. And